The laughter was loud. Too loud. It echoed across Maboko Central Market like a cruel song, bouncing off zinc roofs and wooden stalls as people pointed, jeered, and shook their heads. "Look at her again," a woman shouted. "See love way Dawn turned somebody to Mumu," another voice laughed. Zara Abani stood frozen in the middle of the market, her fingers clenched tightly around the edge of her mother's food tray. Her chest burned, her throat tightened, and her eyes stung, but she refused to cry. Not here. Not in front of them. Then the sound of engines cut through the noise. One car. Two. Three. Black SUVs rolled slowly into the narrow market road, their polished bodies reflecting the dusty sun. Traders stopped mid-sale. A woman dropped her basket of tomatoes. The laughter died so suddenly it felt like someone had sucked the air out of the place. Zara turned, confused, her heart pounding. A car door opened. A man stepped out. Tall. Calm. Dressed in a sharp, perfectly fitted suit. And in that instant, the same mouths that had mocked her fell open in shock. But before this silence, before the cars, before the stares, before the truth that would change everything. Stories like this take time to tell. If you want more, please subscribe and stay with us. Zara was just a market girl. Every morning before sunrise, she stood beside her mother at their small wooden food stall, stirring steaming pots of rice and beans as Maboko Market slowly came alive. At 23, her hands already bore the marks of hard work, small burns, faint scars, calluses earned from years of honest labor. "Zara, taste this stew," her mother, Mama Iridi, said one morning, handing her a spoon. Zara tasted it, smiled softly. "It's perfect, Mama." Mama Iridi chuckled. "You always say that. That's because you always cook with love." The market around them buzzed with life, hawkers shouting prices, metal clanging, radios blaring old songs. It was loud, crowded, and unforgiving. A place where weakness was mocked and survival was everything. Yet Zara never hardened. When an elderly man shuffled past their stall one afternoon, his clothes torn and eyes tired, Zara didn't hesitate. "Mama, please," she whispered. "Let me give him food." Mama Iridi sighed but nodded. Zara filled a plate generously and handed it to the man. "God bless you, my child," he murmured, his voice trembling. Behind them, laughter rose. "Zara, you don't start again," one of her friends, Maid, called out. "You think kindness go pay your rent?" Another friend, Sola, rolled her eyes. "This girl N. One day hunger go teach you lesson." Zara only smiled and wiped her hands on her apron. That was how she was. Gentle. Steady. Unashamed. While her friends dreamed loudly of rich husbands and escaped to the city, Zara found dignity in honest work. She believed quietly that life had a way of rewarding good hearts. Then one morning, someone new appeared in Maboko Market. He arrived with nothing more than an old sewing machine, a small table, and a calm confidence that felt out of place in such a harsh environment. His name, he said, was Kola Adeyemi. Zara noticed him because he didn't shout. While other traders called out to customers, Kola worked silently, his head bent as his hands moved with practiced precision. He greeted people politely, stood to offer elders a seat, and never argued over prices. "He won't last," a woman muttered near Zara's stall. "This market eats people like him." Zara watched quietly. One afternoon, the same elderly man she had fed earlier collapsed near Kola's stall. Without hesitation, Kola rushed to him. "Sir, sit here," Kola said gently, pulling out a chair. "Take this water." Zara felt something stir in her chest. Later that evening, as the market slowed, Zara walked over with a covered plate. "Good evening," she said softly. Kola looked up surprised. "Good evening. My mother cooked too much today," Zara lied. "Please eat." Kola hesitated. "I don't want to be a burden." She smiled. "You're not." He accepted the food. "Thank you." Truly. That was the beginning. They talked in small moments, between customers, during quiet hours. About the market. About life. About dreams spoken carefully, as if afraid they might break. I've been sewing since I was 13, Kola told her one day, his eyes distant. I want to build something. Something real. Zara nodded eagerly. I can see it in your work. You're talented. Her belief surprised him. Within weeks, people noticed. Zara, you and that tailor again? Maid scoffed. You want to add poverty to poverty? Sola laughed. At least find a man with a car. Zara shrugged. He's kind. That word meant nothing to them. One evening, as the sun dipped low, Kola walked Zara home. Do you enjoy spending time with me? He asked suddenly, his voice nervous. She stopped walking. Looked at him. Yes. He exhaled shakily. Because I do. Very much. Silence stretched between them. I care about you, Zara said softly. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a simple beaded bracelet. I made this. It's not much. She slipped it onto her wrist, eyes shining. It's everything. Love, when it came, was quiet, but the market was not. Whispers grew into laughter. Laughter into insults. See the way she's following that poor tailor up and down. She don't waste her future. Love no day feed person. One afternoon, a group of traders laughed openly as Zara passed. Madam Billionaire Tailor, a man shouted. Zara's smile broke. That night, she cried in her mother's arms. Mama, am I wrong? She asked, voice shaking. Mama Iridi wiped her tears. A good heart is never wrong. The mockery worsened. Until one day, Kola watched Zara walk away in tears and made a decision. He would not let her suffer for believing in him. Not anymore. Don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this. Kola did not sleep that night. He lay on his thin mattress in the small room behind the market, staring at the cracked ceiling as Zara's face replayed in his mind. The way she smiled in public even as the market tore her down. The way her shoulders shook when she thought no one was watching. I promised myself I wouldn't do this, he whispered into the darkness. By morning, the market was already whispering again. Zara arrived early, tying her apron while her mother stirred yam porridge. She felt the stares immediately, curious, mocking, pitiful. Maid walked up, arms crossed. So you're still with him? Yes, Zara replied without looking up. Maid scoffed. When this thing scatters, don't come crying to us. I didn't ask you to understand, Zara said calmly. Customers were fewer that day. People talked more than they bought. That's her. The tailor's girl. She thinks love pays school fees. By afternoon, Zara carried food to Kola's stall. She found him staring blankly at his sewing machine. You shouldn't be here, he said quickly. Why? They're laughing at you because of me. Let them, she said. His voice tightened. I can't keep watching this. I chose this, she replied. You shouldn't have to suffer for believing in someone. I believe in you because you're good. Isn't that enough? He looked away. That evening, Mama Iridi noticed Zara's silence. They said something again, her mother said. Zara nodded. What if they're right? People who measure life by money are always afraid, Mama Iridi replied gently. Strength doesn't mean you don't feel pain. The next days were worse. Someone poured water near Kola's stall, soaking his fabrics. Another trader shoved his chair aside. Go back to where you came from, a man said. Kola said nothing. Then Zara overheard Sola. That tailor doesn't even have family here. Zara is foolish, wasting her youth. Zara froze. She dropped her basket and ran until she reached the river behind their house. Why does loving someone feel like a crime? She whispered through tears. That night, Kola found her sitting outside. I heard, he said quietly. She didn't respond. Then tell me why you're hiding, she finally said. You're not just a poor tailor. He was silent for a long moment. I needed to know who would love me without it, he said. Without what? Everything. I don't care, she replied. I do, he said softly. Because the moment I reveal it, this market will change. Maybe it should. Not yet. The next morning, something changed in him. He stopped lowering his head. When mocked, he met eyes calmly. When laughed at, he smiled faintly. Who does he think he is? People muttered. Zara noticed. What are you planning? She asked. An ending, he replied. Rumors spread. Big people are coming. Journalists. He's lying. Then one bright morning, Mama Irene held Zara's hands. "Whatever happens today, stand tall," she said. By noon, Maboko Market was packed. Then the engines came. Black SUVs rolled in. Phones came out. Mouths fell open. Zara stood frozen as the man she loved stepped out, changed, undeniable. "Ladies and gentlemen," a voice announced. Kola, no, Adekunle, walked forward. "My name is Adekunle Adebayo," he said calmly. "And this market raised me for a season." Gasps rippled through the crowd. He turned to Zara, eyes soft. "She loved me when I was nobody." Tears streamed down her face. And in that moment, the market understood. The market stood still. For a place that never slept, never rested, never stopped talking, Maboko Central Market had suddenly forgotten how to breathe. The only sound was the faint hum of car engines and the rustle of fabric caught by the wind. Zara felt her legs trembling beneath her. Her mind screamed for answers, but her mouth refused to move. Adekunle Adebayo. The name echoed in her head like thunder. She stared at the man standing before her, the same man who had stitched clothes with worn fingers, who had eaten from shared plates, who had smiled shyly when she praised his work. He stepped closer to her, ignoring the stunned crowd. "Zara," he said softly, as if they were alone. "Look at me." She did. Her voice broke. "Is it true?" He nodded once. "Yes." A murmur rippled through the market. "You mean this Tailor is the Adebayo? The fashion man on TV?" Zara swallowed hard. "Why didn't you tell me?" His eyes glistened. "Because I needed to know if love could see me without the noise." Tears slid freely down her cheeks. "Do you know how much they hurt me?" He reached for her hands. "That's why I'm here." He turned back to the crowd. "I came to this market under a different name," he said, his voice firm now. "Not because I was ashamed of who I am, but because I was tired of being loved for it." The crowd shifted uneasily. "I wanted to know who would still stand with me when I had nothing but character." Someone scoffed weakly. "So all this was a test?" Adekunle shook his head. "No. It was a choice." He pointed gently toward Zara. "She chose me without knowing anything. She fed me when she had little. She defended me when she had everything to lose." Silence followed. Zara's former friends stood stiffly at the edge of the crowd. Maid's face was pale. Sola wouldn't meet Zara's eyes. Adekunle continued, "You mocked her. You humiliated her. You laughed." His voice lowered. "Today, you will listen." A journalist stepped forward, microphone raised. "Sir, are you confirming you're the founder of Adebayo Collective?" "Yes," Adekunle replied calmly. "And this woman," he turned back to Zara, "is the reason I believe success still means something." Zara's hands shook. "I don't understand any of this." He smiled gently. "You don't have to. Just know this, everything I did was real. My feelings were real." Her voice cracked. "Then why now?" "Because I watched you cry," he said simply. "And I promised myself I would never let the world punish you for loving me." A lump formed in Zara's throat. From the back of the crowd, Mama Irene stepped forward. She looked at Adekunle steadily. "Young man." "Yes, Mama." "Did you love my daughter when you were poor?" He didn't hesitate. "With everything I had." Mama Irene nodded slowly. "Then wealth doesn't change anything." Adekunle reached into his pocket. Gasps erupted as he dropped to one knee on the dusty market floor. Zara's breath caught. "Zara Abeni," he said, his voice shaking for the first time. "You loved me when I was invisible. You believed in me when the world laughed." He opened a small velvet box. Inside, a diamond ring caught the sunlight. "Will you marry me?" The market exploded. Cheers. Shouts. Tears. Zara covered her mouth, sobbing. "Yes. Yes." Adekunle stood and pulled her into his arms as applause thundered around them. Somewhere behind them, Sola whispered, "We were wrong." Maid said nothing. The days that followed felt unreal. News of the proposal spread fast. Videos from the market flooded social media. People who had once mocked now smiled too widely, greeted Zara with exaggerated respect. "You always knew," one trader said sheepishly. Zara only nodded politely. At home that night, she sat quietly on her bed, staring at the bracelet Kola had once given her. Adekunle sat beside her. "Are you angry?" She shook her head slowly. I'm overwhelmed. If you want to walk away from all this, I'll understand. She looked at him sharply. Don't say that. I don't want you to feel trapped. I don't regret loving you, she said softly. I regret how much pain came with it. He leaned his forehead against hers. I wish I could erase that. Just promise me one thing. Anything. Never forget where you were loved first. He smiled. Never. Preparations for the wedding moved quickly, but Zara insisted on simplicity where it mattered. I don't need a palace, she told him. I need honesty. They argued sometimes. You deserve more, Adekunle insisted. I deserve peace, she replied. Mama Iridi watched them with quiet pride. One evening, Zara ran into Maid by chance. Maid shifted awkwardly. Zara. I'm sorry. For what? For laughing when I should have stood with you. Zara nodded slowly. I forgive you. Not everything needed closure. The wedding day arrived bright and clear. Zara stood before a mirror, wearing a gown Adekunle had designed himself, elegant, modest, stitched with care. Mama Iridi adjusted her veil. You've walked a hard road. Zara smiled softly. But it led me here. As she stepped into the venue, the crowd rose. Adekunle watched her approach, eyes filled with tears. When she reached him, he whispered, You still scare me. She smiled. Good. They exchanged vows, not promises of wealth, but of loyalty. I choose you, she said simply. And I will keep choosing you, he replied. The applause was thunderous. But the real triumph wasn't in the celebration. It was in the quiet understanding that love had endured ridicule and won. The celebration lasted long into the evening, but when the music softened and the crowd thinned, Zara finally found a moment alone. She stood at the edge of the venue, watching the lights flicker across the open space, her heart still struggling to catch up with everything that had happened. Adekunle joined her quietly. You disappeared, he said gently. She smiled faintly. I needed air. Today feels bigger than me. He nodded. It is. But it started with you. She looked at him. Do you ever think about how close we were to losing this? He exhaled. Every day. They stood in silence for a moment. I used to believe love had to be loud, Zara said. That it had to announce itself with money and proof. And now, he asked. Now I know love can start with a plate of food and a listening ear. Adekunle smiled. That's why I didn't tell you. She turned to him. I know. And I don't hate you for it. But it changed me. How? It taught me that kindness is dangerous. People will punish you for it. But it's still worth choosing. He reached for her hand. You made me brave enough to choose truth. Their lives changed quickly after that. Zara moved into a world she had only seen from a distance. Fashion shows, interviews, meetings filled with people who spoke quickly and smiled strategically. But she didn't disappear into it. She still woke early. Still checked on Mama Iridi daily. Still remembered the smell of Maboko Market in the mornings. When journalists asked her how it felt to marry a powerful man, she answered calmly, I married a good one first. Some laughed. Some didn't understand. Adekunle returned to Maboko often. Not with cameras. Not with convoys. Sometimes, he just stood quietly where his old stall had been, watching the flow of life. One afternoon, he found the elderly man Zara had once fed sitting nearby. You remember me? The man asked, squinting. Adekunle smiled. You blessed us. The man nodded slowly. Kindness is never wasted. Not everyone celebrated their happiness. There were whispers. Accusations that Zara had been lucky, that she had known all along. She learned quickly that success invited new kinds of cruelty. One night, she broke down again. I did everything right, she cried. Why do they still try to tear me down? Adekunle held her tightly. Because your story reminds them of what they ignored. She rested her head on his chest. Sometimes I miss being invisible. He kissed her hair. You'll never lose yourself. I won't let that happen. She believed him. Months later, they returned to Maboko Market together, not as spectacle, but as gratitude. Adekunle funded a small skills center. Sewing machines. Training programs. Opportunity. When people thanked him, he pointed to Zara. She believed in people when belief was expensive. Zara watched young girls learn to sew, their faces filled with hope. One of them asked shyly, "Auntie, will kindness really change my life?" Zara smiled. "It may not change the world overnight, but it will change who you become." Mama Irene sat nearby, proud and peaceful. "You stayed yourself," she told Zara later. "That's the real victory." As the sun set over Maboko, Zara looked around the market that had once mocked her. She felt no anger, only understanding. Life had not rewarded her because she suffered. It rewarded her because she stayed kind when cruelty was easier. That night, lying beside Atakunal, she whispered, "If we could go back, would you still choose to hide?" He thought carefully. "I would still choose you, but I would protect you sooner." She nodded. We both learned. In the quiet darkness, she realized something profound. Love didn't rescue her. It revealed her. And that was enough. The market would always talk. But Zara had learned to listen to a quieter voice, the one that had guided her from the beginning. The voice that said, "Stay true, stay kind, stay brave." And she did. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe for more unforgettable stories.